This is Mac OS Ken.
The House answers the Senate's call. Craig Federighi rehashes hashes and humanitarian aid from Apple. It is Monday, the 16th of August, 2021. I'm Ken Ray, and this is news from Mac OS Ken, brought to you by yours truly and sponsored by SimpliSafe. Get 20% off your system plus your first month free when you sign up for interactive monitoring service at simplisafe.com/macOSCan. This show is also supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/macOSCan. The House has heard the Senate's call. I told you last week a proposed legislation introduced by 3 U.S. senators, 2 Democrats and 1 Republican, that could upend the way Apple's App Store and the Google Play Store are run, aimed specifically at app stores with more than 50 million customers. A piece from CNET last week said the bill would bar companies from forcing developers to use their payment systems. It would also ensure that developers could tell customers about lower pricing on other platforms, and it would force companies like Apple to allow alternative ways to install apps on their devices. Now, a bipartisan pair in the U.S. House of Representatives has introduced legislation drawn along similar lines. Citing a Reuters report, a piece from Apple Insider says the House bill, introduced by Republican Representative Ken Buck and Democratic Representative Hank Johnson on Friday, would ban technology companies from requiring developers to use first-party payment systems or distribution methods. The legislation introduced in the House is a companion bill to the one that surfaced in the Senate last week. In fact, it is so companionable, they share the same name, the Open App Markets Act. In a statement to Reuters, Representative Buck said, "For far too long, companies like Google and Apple have had a stranglehold on app developers who are forced to take whatever terms these monopolists set in order to reach their customers." While it sounds like the House version stops short of the legislation introduced in the Senate, Apple Insider reminds readers, in addition to the Open App Markets Act, the U.S. House earlier in 2021 also introduced a sweeping antitrust package that could bar major technology companies from boosting their own apps over competitors or acquiring rising rivals. Apple Senior VP of Software Engineering Craig Federighi had a socially distant sit-down with the Wall Street Journal's Joanna Stern last week. The two discussed the expanded protections for children Apple introduced a week and a half ago. Apple Insider writes up the interview, which had Federighi saying the message was jumbled and Apple wishes it had come out a little more clearly for everyone. If you didn't understand what was said when Apple introduced the protections, it was a decent primer. Once again, Federighi explained how hashes work, how the safety voucher system works, how the changes for messages for kids on family sharing plans in iOS 15 will work. He even said how many safety vouchers would have to flash red before Apple takes action. I'm not going to tell you that number, by the way, because the number of photos that match known child sexual abuse material you feel comfortable storing in iCloud should be 0. I don't want to tell you how to live your life, but in this case, I will make that exception. Now, it is possible, maybe even likely, that the message some people got last week was Apple is scanning your pictures. Certainly that was the message Stern said people got. What the interview did not address in any real way were the concerns expressed by the Electronic Frontier Foundation, or Edward Snowden, or the open letter signed by a number of organizations and well over 7,000 individuals. While Federighi did say that the hashes are being run against a finite and clearly defined set of known CSAM, while he did stress how much of what happens on device, and while he did make clear that everything they're focusing on is focused on stopping child exploitation, he did not say what Apple would do if the laws change. In fairness, though, he was not asked that question. I will say it gets a bit frustrating to be told they're answering questions when the questions they're being asked are, "Would you repeat that?" and "Would you say that one more time?" Now, if your concern was that Apple's scanning your photos, the company has more words for you. In lockstep with Federighi's sit-down with Stern, a piece from Mac Rumors says Apple has posted a more detailed explanation of how the child safety features work. Mac Rumors says the post includes design principles, security and privacy requirements, and threat model considerations. The piece says Apple has also committed to having an independent auditor review the system, something Federighi alluded to in the interview with Stern. All of that is cool, except none of that addresses the concerns expressed by the EFF or Edward Snowden or in the aforementioned open letter. But it's there if you want to see it. Apple ordered to pay $300 million in LTE patent dispute, reads a headline from Engadget. Spoiler alert, Apple's not planning on paying it. According to the piece, a Texas jury has determined that Apple must pay the $300 million to patent firm Optis for allegedly violating patents covering LTE cellular service in devices like the iPhone and iPad. What is a patent firm? Why, it's a firm that buys patents, of course. See also non-practicing entity. See also patent troll. According to Engadget, Apple accused Optis of being a patent troll in a statement, noting that the firm exists solely to sue companies using purchased patents. Apple would keep resisting Optis' efforts to obtain unreasonable payments for patents, the iPhone maker said. More news in a moment, but first a word from SimpliSafe. Whole home protection. When Chad and Eleanor Lawrence, the founders of SimpliSafe, designed their first security system, they did it for a very personal reason. A friend's home had just been broken into. Chad and Eleanor couldn't find a security system that was simple to set up that would make them feel safe. So they built one. And 15 years later, you can have a security system that's simple to set up and makes you feel safe. Setting up my SimpliSafe system was fast and, yes, simple. Took me well under an hour, but it's not just about what's in your house. SimpliSafe has highly trained security experts ready whenever you need them, whether that's during a fire, a break-in, a medical emergency, or even just when you're getting set up. Safety and simplicity. That's SimpliSafe. As my listener, you can save 20% on your SimpliSafe security system and get your first month free when you sign up for interactive monitoring service. Just visit simplisafe.com/macOSKen to customize your system and start protecting your home and family. SIMPLI. That's simplisafe.com/macOSKen. Helping abroad and helping in their literal backyard. Two tales of support from Apple. First, Apple Insider had Apple CEO Tim Cook reacting over the weekend to the devastating earthquake in Haiti. The island nation was rocked by a 7.2 magnitude earthquake on Saturday. According to a piece from the Miami Herald, officials on Sunday evening said 1,297 people were confirmed dead, 5,700 injured, and 30,250 families were homeless following the strong quake. In a Twitter post on Sunday morning, Apple CEO said, "Our hearts are with all those in Haiti who are once again facing the consequences of a devastating earthquake. Apple will be donating to assist relief and recovery efforts in the affected communities." As for help in their backyard, a separate piece from Apple Insider has Apple pledging millions in spending on outreach and relocation for homeless people living on land the company owns in San Jose. There's said to be somewhere between 35 and 70 people living on the undeveloped tract. The piece quotes a statement from the company saying, Apple has long been focused on helping to combat the housing crisis across California and working with partners to support at-risk communities and provide new affordable units. In San Jose, we have been closely coordinating with local partners for several months to identify housing alternatives and support for families who will be transitioning away from the Apple-owned site. The program will be funded by millions of dollars pulled from Apple's $2.5 billion pledge to fight California's housing shortage, according to the report. It looks like a name change is all we're getting out of Matter this year. Matter is the name of a planned set of standards that should give Internet of Things more interoperability. Matter's being shepherded by the Connectivity Standards Alliance, which counts Apple, Google, and Amazon among its members. Formerly called Project Connected Home over IP, or CHIP, the CSA changed its name to Matter earlier this year. It was also supposed to see the introduction of Matter-certified hardware by the end of this year. That was delayed from the end of last year, and now it's being delayed again. The piece from Cult of Mac says CSA's Matter Working Group must still finish creating the project's open-source software development kit. On top of that, it must finish setting up a certification program and testing tools. Sometime in 2022 is now the plan. Look forward to a disappointing update about a year from now. And finally today, Nate the Great, Roy Kent, and Ted Lasso are ready to bring a bit of character to your messages. iDownload blog says Apple has released a sticker pack featuring several characters from the series Ted Lasso, as well as a soccer ball and the AFC Richmond crest. There's also a cup of tea for some reason. The stickers are free, of course. Go to the App Store in Messages, and the Ted Lasso sticker set should be front and center. macOS Ken, brought to you by me and sponsored by SimpliSafe. Get 20% off your system plus your first month free when you sign up for interactive monitoring service at simplysafe.com/macOSKen. This show is also supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/macOSKen. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media. Online at backbeatmedia.com. You can reach me a couple of ways. info@macosken.com or call 716-780-4080. Until next time, that is news from macOS Ken. I'm Ken Ray.
Ciao.